lot of people to make friends. So she taught piano in the neighboring city, and that's how she met other people.
Yeah, there were only a couple hundred people in Osceola.
Mm-hmm. And she was a big bridge player, so she initiated everything, my mother. She initiated a bridge club, she initiated a boys' Sunday school class. We had no minister, but my mother and my school teacher, they were the ones that had the Sunday school. So all the children in Osceola that wanted to could come to this. It wasn't a particular Presbyterian or Methodist. They just taught the Bible.
Right.
And the two of them, and Mama played the piano, taught songs, and they had Christian plays, and so we grew up with that.
So your mom made things happen.
Mm-hmm. She made things happen, and all her life.
So what'd your dad do in the community?
He just worked.
He just worked.
Long hours.
Mm-hmm.
It was, he worked on Saturday, many times, and he worked until dark. It was always dark when he got home, walked home.
Did he do book work, accounting kind of a thing?
He was accounting and clerical and sales, on the sales desk, and a little bit in treasurer. He was secretary treasurer.
They took care of the money and stuff.
They had a big brick safe where they stored all their
Valuable.
valuables.
That's just my brother coughing.
And but the president and the vice president and all the executors lived on one street, and then the next street was people that weren't executives. So actually, it was a town of different levels of, unfortunately.
Right.
So we weren't allowed to go down into certain neighborhoods where and then it was also segregated. And my mother took her wash
A wash?
down to her name was Shelley, a colored lady, and she did the most beautiful work. I can still remember taking the wash down there, and then a couple of days later we'd go and pick it up, and everything was ironed. The sheets, everything was ironed. Just perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother didn't, do the old-fashioned washing, and we didn't have a washing machine. So, because she was busy playing bridge, teaching us piano,
Mm-hmm.
teaching others piano. She was busy in the PTA, and she was busy in the church.
Oh, the PTA, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, we had a PTA. And so I had a wonderful childhood.
What about the 4-H projects you did, some of the projects you did?
Oh, we had so many projects. I think that was our busiest time, my mother and I. And you said to talk about my brothers.
Mm-hmm.
He drove the truck, and you didn't have to have a driver's license. So when he was 14 and 15, he drove some of the lumber trucks.
So people didn't have driver's licenses back then?
No. Mm-mm. And he did he had a boat, and he did a lot of some fishing, but mostly just riding and taking Richard. I don't remember ever going out in the boat because I was not there. I was doing 4-H projects.
Your mother wouldn't let you because he'd go 40 miles an hour.
Yes.
It was a very high
And
speed
he
boat.
had his friends, but he wasn't into sports, which was okay. That wasn't his thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I love sports. And then my younger brother came along, and he was 7 years younger. And, so he doesn't remember as much as we do. But, because when we moved in 1944, he was, 9 years old.
Okay, moved to Fort Lauderdale.
Mm-hmm.
So what caused that move?
The company decided to sell the property and move everything to Fort Lauderdale, Fort Everglades. And my dad was one of the last to move. So, therefore, in high school, it was kind of hard. In March, it was the last of the school, and then we moved to Fort Lauderdale. Oh, back to the 4-H projects. Okay. My brother built the chicken houses along with my mother because my dad couldn't, hammer a nail.
Oh, really?
And my mother was very like a carpenter. So she and Harold built all the beautiful chicken houses. And we would order the chickens from Georgia, and they would come by train and come to the post office, and then we would go down and get the little tiny baby chicks.
How would you order them? Pick up the phone and order them, or write a letter and order them, or?
It came by railroad.
I think
I mean, how did you initiate the order, the
my
request?
dad.
Your dad would call, pick up the phone, and
Mhm.
call somebody in Georgia. Said he want
Or
100 chickens.
send a letter.
Or send a letter.
Uh-huh. To the post office. We had a post office.
Mhm.
My mother started a library.
Really?
Uh-huh. And so I helped her with that. That was in the back room behind the post office. And then she started like a place like a Red Cross. She did so many things.
So she had a lot of lady friends?
Yes. Uh-huh. Yes, she did. And she had a lot of friends in Geneva. This is how I met my best friend Jenny Toole, who I talked to in Minneapolis,
Mm-hmm.
who you have met.
Mm-hmm.
But we were busy with, we had chicken feed, and I made about 14 dresses out of chicken feed sacks. They were beautiful materials, and so we hung them up on the line, and I entered that into a 4-H exhibit, and I got a blue ribbon on it.
Neat. So it's not like burlap sacks. A little
No,
better than
no.
that, yeah.
No. And it was the kind of material that never wore out, so I wore those dresses forever.
Yeah,
And that's when you wore dresses.
right.
And then we had a uniform that we had to sew, a dress, and then I went to Tallahassee for the short course, Tallahassee short course,
Short course in what?
and 4-H.
Oh,
Everybody from the state went, you had to have the same dress, made exactly the same material, and walk across this huge stage
mm-hmm.
to, I'll never forget it.
Was it FSU? Or one of the-
FSU.
Yeah, one of the buildings, okay.
Mm-hmm. And that was really, that's when I decided, this is where I want to go to school.
Oh, yeah,
That was my first trip to Tallahassee,
yeah,
and I thought the Capitol was just magnificent.
it's true,
Because you have to remember, I was in Osceola.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
We didn't go anywhere
Yeah, not much there.
except Daytona.
Right.
We only knew Daytona Beach
Oh.
and Jacksonville. And I had no idea of the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm.
But as a child, that's okay.
Yeah, you didn't have any TV, right?
No,
No TV.
no TV. Very, some radio.
radio.
We had a phonograph, an old-timey phonograph.
Mm-hmm.
And, but my dad was an amateur photographer from the time I was born. Smile. He would take pictures. He took hundreds of pictures.
Wow.
I enjoyed it, but Harold did not.
Hmm.
He
Where
was-
did you get the pictures developed?
You sent them off. You had
Right.
to send them off. You couldn't go to the drugstore and get them printed. But he was interested in photography all his life.
Interesting.
Uh-huh. So See, he left home at 16 and went to Jacksonville. Then soon after that, his mother and dad came and lived with my mother and dad most of their life. And it was a wonderful time in Osceola.
Neat. Now, how does your mom and dad feel about moving to Fort Lauderdale? Do you know?
My mother was very happy.
To move.
And Daddy was too, because, you know, it was hard on him. He played poker once a week, and that was about it.
Yeah.
He never gambled.
Right.
They had small ante, they call it.
All right.
And,
So they're both pretty happy to move.
mhm, yeah. But we didn't have a lot of money, so it was hard to find a house to rent. And he didn't get a big salary at all. But in Fort Lauderdale, we lived next to the Methodist parsonage and church. And that's how we got to join the church. We got to know the minister and his wife.
Now, when you moved, did you just all get in your one car and just all drove down one day with your stuff?
No, Harold drove a big van, a big
Mhm.
truck with our furniture.
Mm.
We had like a, you know, and I was in the car with my mother and dad and Richard, and we followed each other.
So how old was Harold like when you moved?
And he was born at 10, let's see. He was born in 24 and we moved in 44.
So 20.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then right after we moved, he joined the Navy. See, he had already been to college.
In Gainesville,
Uh-huh.
University of Florida.
University of Florida.
Mhm.
And he had also worked at Panama City when he graduated from high school. And then he joined the Navy, and he was in Jacksonville and then Connecticut. He never had to go anywhere dangerous, but he was awfully young, you know. But he learned electronics, he worked with electronics.
Do you know why you joined the Navy?
Well, he would have been drafted,
Oh,
and he wanted to join the Navy. He liked boats,
yeah, likes the water and boats and yeah.
liked the water and the boats, and he didn't want to be in the Army or, because he was well-read in history.
So what was Richard doing all this time? You haven't said much about Richard yet.
He was, he had a lot of friends. He was very happy. He was mostly outside. We were outside a lot because we had a pony.
Pony.
Uh-huh. We had a big playhouse that my dad had built, and it was huge. Had an attic to it.
I guess he had free lumber, right?
Because lumber was cheap.
Or cheap.
Yeah. So as children, we just really enjoyed the playhouse. And then he had some of his best friends were right in that same street, and he loved to play ball, football, and.
Oh, Richard did.
Mhm.
Okay.
And he also took the piano. No violin,
Mm-hmm.
just the piano. But he didn't know. He was a happy camper. And then when we moved to Fort Lauderdale, I was behind, because Seminole County was behind Broward County. So being it was March and exams were coming up, the principal came and talked to me and said, I would advise you to take these subjects over. And at the end of the year, also I came down with the measles right before exams, and that didn't help.
Right, so you repeated the 11th
So I
grade.
repeated the 11th grade. But I was very glad that I did, because I was able to take a lot of electives, like shorthand, bookkeeping, business math, and things that I later used. And also it enabled me to meet your dad.
Right, 'cause he was,
because I would have been a year ahead of him. I would have graduated. And so we met in 11th grade,
Fort Lauderdale High School.
Fort Lauderdale High School. We met at the church. And, because his mother and dad had belonged there forever. And so we started dating, and the rest is history.
The rest is history. It's all history.
It's all history.
In 60 years coming up.
60 years coming up.
Yes.
Very happy years.
June
Very
1st.
happy years. 3 wonderful
What's
children.
today's date?
3 wonderful children.
May 3rd, 2008.
Yeah, May 3rd, 2008 today.
Uh-huh.
All right, you have anything else you want to say?
I just want to thank you for all the questions you asked.
Good. So I understand you have 2 sons?
So when did you go to college?
I knew that my dad couldn't afford to send me to college because we had roomers to board with us. I never had my own bedroom. I mean, because my dad, to make ends meet, had to have somebody come in and board. And I'll tell you, they were very interesting people.
I'm sure.
We had 1 bathroom.
Now, so let me stop you there for a second. When you moved to Fort Lauderdale, you rented a house.
Uh-huh.
And then, at what point did you move into the house that's still there, you know?
I never,
Oh, you never lived in that?
I got married before,
Oh, you got married, okay.
right before that,
Oh, all right, so you lived in,
so I never lived there.
did you live in one house the whole time you were
Uh-huh.
there? Okay.
1 house. Real nice house. Big house.
Bigger than the new one they got?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, 'cause that's a
Oh,
small
yes.
house.
And it had a separate garage, and it was right next to the parsonage. It was a frame house, but it had a big porch, huge porch all the way across the front, and then a porch in the back.
Is that house still there?
Yeah, no. Finally got torn down.
Oh, okay.
And then I would sleep on the sleeping porch, and see, Harold was in the Navy, so he never lived there either,
Mhm.
except on leave. So Richard's the only one that lived in the house where he lives now. And,
Well, I guess you had some cooler breezes in Fort Lauderdale than in Osceola.
mhm.
Must have been real hot in
Oh,
Osceola in
yeah.
the summer.
Yeah, hot and thunderstorms.
Lots of thunderstorms.
Lots of thunderstorms.
Any tornadoes very much?
No,
No, just thunderstorms.
no. But it was kind of difficult for me because I was a country girl, and all of a sudden you're thrown into the city where they had, the Sanford School didn't have cliques. They accepted the country people. But when I moved to Fort Lauderdale, there was cliques here, cliques there, and I got along with everybody. And I had my best friend Jenny introduced me to a lot of people. And so when I
What?
was taking bookkeeping and shorthand, that they were considered lower class.
Was Jenny a country girl or a city girl?
She had moved there a long time before I did because
Oh, okay.
her dad worked for the company. But they moved long before we did.
Oh, okay. So
Uh-huh.
she had some time
She became
to-
a city girl.
she became a city girl, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
But she was friendly with everybody.
Mhm.
But some of this crowd would come up and say, Margie, why are you associating with so-and-so?
Really?
Yes.
That happened back then.
And I would say, because she's my friend.
Good.
And I couldn't figure that out because in Sanford it wasn't that way.
Right, wasn't that clicks and things?
No. So I would come home and talk to my mother about it. I talked to the preacher about it. And, because he was from Palatka, which was considered a small town.
Right.
So when I started going with your dad, well then I didn't have any trouble.
Was he considered a city boy?
Yes. He
Yeah.
was.
So what happened when you graduated from high school?
So when I graduated from high school, what do you mean?
What next?
From high school? Oh,
Did you immediately go to FSU or? What, did you wait a year or two, or?
No. The principal came to me with this Lewis scholarship. He said-
Lewis?
It's called Lewis
Uh-huh.
Scholarship. And he said, I want you to take this test. It's a teaching scholarship. You have to either pay it back or teach.
Teaching scholarship.
Teaching scholarship.
Close that sliding glass door.
So,
Lawnmower noise.
I blew that one up in this.
So I took the test
Picture
and
in
passed it.
77.
and then I was able to go to
Not really good,
college.
did it?
Neat.
Good,
Mhm.
good.
So I made some copies for
And,
some of the children and
it was a-
grandchildren.
Happiest day of my life
Of this,
when that came in the mail.
Yeah, I bet, that's exciting.
And my dad sent me cash as much as he could because the violin cost, the piano lessons cost, the organ lessons cost, and they were extra. The music was extra.
And you had some income up there from something.
And I worked in the cafeteria. I worked in the, for a Greek professor,
A Greek professor doing what?
typing
Typing.
exams,
50 cents an hour maybe.
not even that.
No, you,
And I worked for different places like that to make extra money.
Right.
And so it was a wonderful experience, college, because then I understood when you children went to college, I understood what it was all about,
Right,
even though I only went 2 years.
yeah.
I could understand the immense stress of studying and having different professors, and some were fair, some weren't fair, and I could understand all that.
So were you excited to be away from home for a little bit on your own?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, I never got homesick,
never got homesick, yeah.
no. Well, I got homesick, but I mean not, my roommate cried and cried
Oh,
when her mother and dad left.
After dropping her off.
And I said, why are you crying? She says, because I know I'm not gonna see him for a while. I said, she was from Tampa, most wonderful person. I said, well, okay. I had to console her. I had been away to 4-H camp.
Oh, okay.
You know, I'd been to
Right.
Tallahassee, and so, and I was independent.
Mm-hmm, a little more.
You might
independent.
say.
Sure,
My mother always said, you know, you're very independent.
yeah. Did you take that as a compliment?
Yes, I got it from my mother.
Yes.
And
So you went like 2 or 3 years to FSU?
2 years.
2 years.
2 years. And I knew that Daddy couldn't afford it anymore.
Even with a scholarship?
Well, that's when Gene's folks had the tornado, that he could no longer go to college, and so we were in love and we wanted to get married, like Jessica and Ivan.
How old were you?
19,
19.
when we got married.
And Dad was going to Gainesville.
And
University.
also our dear minister was being transferred.
Mhm.
We wanted him to marry us.
Oh, okay.
And we didn't have any money. Our folks knew we didn't have any money. You know, they wanted us to wait, but he was working for Jim, his brother, and I was working at the courthouse. And
In Fort Lauderdale.
so we immediately set up a budget after we got married. The realtor that sold us the house didn't have us pay a commission.
They had realtors back
Mhm.
then. Do they have houses back then?
So we had a budget every month of where, you know, to pay off everybody. The scholarship, we had to pay off the scholarship.
Oh.
Couldn't
He
you just
married-
put it on credit card?
He married a debt,
You had some debt, so you didn't end up teaching. so you
yeah,
had to
the big debt.
and
Okay,
luckily
back.
I didn't get
Come
pregnant.
back. Oh,
Oh, you still.
yeah.
Still taping.
It was a wonderful life. It's a wonderful life.
Yes.
It's
So-
a wonderful life.
Now you're in Vero Beach.
And then you got a house there somewhere, rented a house or something.
We bought a house.
Bought a house?
Yes, we did.
No money?
Moved right in it.
Yes.
What do you mean, you went to the bank and got a mortgage?
No, it was 600 down.
$600 down,
Uh-huh. And it cost 6,000.
$6,000.
5,800.
So you had to get a mortgage.
We borrowed from the realtor I was working for before I worked at the courthouse. We borrowed from him, we borrowed from your dad.
My dad was instrumental in that, in the down payment or something.
Mhm.
It was about 1,000 or something like
Right.
that. We paid him back.
He planked it over.
So you had no mortgage with the bank, you just borrowed
No,
the whole
no,
6,000?
it just was a monthly payment.
When we came back from honeymoon, we just moved right into the house.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, that's good, so, I guess, did they have a lot of
Yeah.
mortgages back then, was that common, or?
No.
That wasn't quite common
We
yet.
hadn't even
No.
dreamed of having a house.
Yeah.
No.
But my dad and his dad
And then R.T. Hodges, you know, was a real
Right.
estate agent.
was a realtor
And
that I was
Margie,
working for.
she worked for him.
Uh-huh.
Right,
So this one came on the market, and they had a fence all the way around. It was a beautiful home, frame house. And
It's a corner lot on 13th
we had
Street.
even looked at a room in a boarding house. We just want to get married.
so who came up with the idea to buy a house?
Well, my dad was mostly instrumental in that, and
His
he wanted,
dad, my
wanted us to have a
dad.
house.
Okay, they wanted you to have a house, so they just made it happen.
They were real proud of Margie and I both, and
Yeah,
and
yeah,
on both sides, and
yeah.
they wanted us to have the house, and so that was my dad's and mother's great thrill to have us a house to move into. It's a
Yeah.
wood frame, built probably in 19 by the time we were
It's
born.
still there. It's still there.
1935 or somewhere along in there.
Right.
It was built out of Dade County pine, they call it, and that's the hard pine, you know, that you can hardly drive a nail into.
Huh,
And once you drive a nail into it, you don't pull it out.
it just
You have
stays
to-
there.
You have to break it off if you're ever gonna move it off.
Right,
I remodeled that house.
Yeah, he remodeled the kitchen. It had no closet to hang clothes, so he made a closet. He just remodeled the whole house, had a big porch across the front, and we had to have a piano.
so you got a piano
So
too
we
somewhere?
bought, where did we get the piano?
I don't think we had a piano
Yeah, we
there.
had an upright piano, we had a party.
Yeah, but
played
I
the
don't remember
piano.
a piano there.
You don't?
No, and see, we didn't have, our bedroom was
No, we
very
had a
small,
piano,
and then the
'cause I
dining
played it.
room, we had music, Zenith player, 78 records.
Piano there, well, I have to go through the photo album.
We always had a piano there, I never
Do you have any pictures and photo albums of the house?
The only place we could put it would be on the porch.
That's where it
The
was.
long porch.
That's where it was, on the porch.
The
I
porch
think,
is from,
I think somebody in the church gave it to us.
Yeah,
That's where it.
porch is from here to here.
I
Well,
knew
we'd-
everybody
We'd have
in
to
the
go back
church,
to that and see if I
'cause
can
I
find a
played
picture of
for
the
the
band.
church.
yeah.
Every
Okay, so-
Sunday night I played.
Every Sunday night, all right.
Every
So-
Wednesday night I
So,
played.
so you had this house, that was a great blessing to have this house with no payment, or, oh, you had to pay people back, I guess.
No, we had a payment
Yeah, to who?
to the mortgage company.
Oh, you did have a
I don't
mortgage?
even remember the name of the mortgage company, but it's something around there.
Okay.